This is called The Brief, Wondrous Sex Life of Ilan Mochari. Part 1. In dreams begin relationships. March 1997, New Haven, Connecticut. Honey, come in here and fuck me, she said. She was on her bed, on her hands and knees, wearing nothing but a t-shirt. I didn't know what to do. Up to this point, I'd been strictly a missionary man. With an occasional dose of woman on top for 30 seconds till I lose patience and flip us over. But since I was 21 and she was 29, and I was already insecure about my lack of seasoning, I said nothing. I put my backpack on the floor, took off my clothes, and positioned myself behind her. On my knees, I inched closer and tried positioning myself where I imagined her opening would be. Based on the softcore porn I favored, I believed that everything was a matter of proper alignment. With one magical pelvic thrust, I'd be inside her, ramming it home. But my thrust caught nothing but air. Would you like some help? She asked. Yes, I whispered. She reached between her legs and grabbed me. She edged back on the bed, all but inserting me. I pulled her hips back towards me, and I was in. What a feeling. She was not my first lover, but she was my first lover to be on the pill. So, in a way, she was my first. For it was with her that I realized a newfound pleasure principle, condom-free sex. And because I had not yet gone through my life's formative pregnancy and STD scares, this condom-free sex was also worry-free sex. But on this evening, inside the girlfriend who was the ideal lover of my young life, my hips were practically immobilized. Positioned as I was behind her, I could not figure out how to start thrusting. The configuration was a bafflement to me. On top of her, it was all so mindless, so animalistic. Behind her, everything seemed anatomically far-fetched. I began to go soft. Are you okay? She asked. I'm sorry, I said. Why are you sorry? I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of experience, I said. We rolled onto our sides and talked for a while. Soon we fell asleep. I had a girlfriend who loved me and who was on the pill. She liked sports too. And yet, I was not happy. Part of it was my looming entry into the real world. All I cared about then, and really all I care about now, was making enough money to pay bills, yet still having enough time each day to write fiction and poetry. It's a common enough desire, this artistic one, but for me it was a torment. I felt pressure from all sides, family, classmates, our capitalistic culture, to spend the next few decades of my life amassing income and property, lest I squander the pricey education I was about to complete. It's a familiar conflict, to be sure. To quote Holden Caulfield, quoting the movies, I'm the goddamn governor's son. He doesn't want me to be a tap dancer. He wants me to go to Oxford. But it's in my goddamn blood, tap dancing. I thought of these lines whenever I needed some humor to leaven my career anxieties. The thing is, I was no governor's son. I was raised by a single mother who taught English in the New York City schools for more than 20 years. It was she who first handed me Catcher in the Rye when I was 12. And I had the rage of all bullied, unathletic boys who believe they're the first and only victims of 7th grade's subdivisions and superficialities. And it was my mom whom I'd most severely disappoint if, instead of heading to law school or making a ransom on Wall Street, I decided, no, I'm going to work at blue-collar jobs and write my version of Catcher in the Rye. And all that was why, on the night I awkwardly lost my doggy-style virginity to a girlfriend who was too ideal to be believed, I was still not happy. I had already told Esther that I loved her, but what I had not yet told her, though I knew it from the first, was that she'd come along at the wrong time. Later that night, when she was sleeping, I woke up worried about all of this, eager to escape the worry by starting a new poem. But what came out instead was a note. Dear Esther, what can I do so you are a little less mad at me when I end the great time we're having after I graduate? You need to see that it's the angst of me and not the essence of us. And I began thinking about the essence of us, how we'd met, how we'd started dating, and how I'd inevitably end it so I could get on with the business of my writing, unencumbered by an amazing person who wanted to do nothing other than comfort me and make me happy. Part 2. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here? 1975 to 1997. We had met the previous semester at the student radio station. By day, Esther worked as a waitress at a restaurant in New Haven and freelanced as a piano teacher. She lived in an off-campus apartment on Beale Street. The first time I saw the apartment was a Saturday in February, the day of our first date. The thing is, I had no idea it was a date. I thought we were just two radio colleagues who decided to take a day-long trip to New York, see a Pavement concert, share a hotel room, and return home the next morning. it was not unusual for me to go on date-like activities with women who had no carnal interest in me. If anything, these non-date dates were a norm and standard. I was the gullible boy who believed he could change a girl's mind. I was the guy who slept in your bed and didn't touch you because he wanted to earn your trust. I remembered your birthday before Facebook and memorized your number before cell phones. I made you quality mixes. And I gave you a ride, and I installed your air conditioner. And all I wanted in return was for you to get over this cuteness thing, to stop looking at the guitarist, or the hockey player, or the bearded professor who reminded you of your dad. And to pay attention to the guy who'd love you more than your future husband ever would. It's easy to make light of just a friend situations, but if you have loved someone with everything you have, and when you are young, it really is everything, and you have repeatedly been refused by those someones, told, in essence, no thanks, I'd rather kiss a stranger, it is the type of thing that whacks at your confidence forever. It is the sort of formative rejection that you never unlearn, no matter what the future brings, in terms of erotic thrills and romantic acceptances and psychotherapy. And all of that is why I did not think that an overnight trip to New York, initiated by a female friend, was a date. So, there she was, looking out the train window, shading her eyes. She had shiny red hair well past her shoulders. She was Irish on both sides, raised in Darien, Connecticut. Salman Rushdie was her favorite author. And in a coincidence that still amazes me, it turned out we had the same birthday. After a short walk from Grand Central, we dropped our bags at the hotel. We found a diner not far from the concert venue. I sat facing her in the booth. After the waitress took our orders, she slid out of her side and joined me on mine. Wow, I said. Wow, what? No one's ever done that to me before, I said. Wheels began turning in my mind, but I still wasn't sure this was a date. She was, after all, 8 years older than I, and that distance seemed unduly large because I was a student while she had spent several years out of school. I also did not think it was possible for women to want me. In those days, one of my efforts at creative writing involved a sci-fi plot I called The Clan of the Cunt Conspiracy. It was about how women worldwide had the ability to telepathically communicate with each other to the point of conspiring about which guys deserved to get laid. I myself had not gotten laid since I'd lost my virginity more than 2 years earlier. I spent my Friday and Saturday nights at the gym practicing my jump shot, or in the library reading the obscure works of Nathaniel Hawthorne. And so, at the concert, when she put her arm around my waist, I thought it was all in the name of platonic camaraderie. Or perhaps this was just what adults did at shows. But boy, do I remember the jolt I felt when her fingertips pressed against the t-shirt that was covering my left love handle. I draped my arm behind her neck and over her shoulders. I felt her hair kissing my knuckles. We swayed awkwardly as Pavement performed a song called Date with IKEA. Later, in the hotel room, we sat up talking. She sat on the lone bed in her faded black jeans and teal sweater, but I did not join her on the bed. I was worried that if I did, she'd give me the just a friend speech. So we lay on the floor. I lay on the floor. We talked for a while about books and basketball. Soon we both fell asleep. In the morning, we ate breakfast at the same diner as the night before, but this time, she stayed on her side of the booth. I wondered if I'd done something wrong, or if the clan of the cunt conspiracy had somehow reached her in her sleep. But wouldn't you know it, from the train station, we walked directly back to her apartment. She walked upstairs and I just followed her. We started watching ESPN, and at one point, we made omelets for our late lunch, early dinner. We sat on the floor eating, and it was only at this point that I said to myself, maybe you should try kissing her. So I moved in. Within seconds, she was on top of me. It was clear we were moving at two different speeds. Her speed, if translated into plain English, would have read, just stick it inside me, right here on the floor, with our clothes still on and our heads inches from our plates. My speed was more like, what about condoms? And don't you want some foreplay first? She unbuttoned my jeans and hooked her thumbs inside my boxers, pushing everything down and out of the way. What then took place was the blowjob that would change the course of my adult life. It was the Magna Carta of blowjobs. I can scan my bookshelf looking for the most grandiose titles, and all of them, in a way, broadly explain the sound and the fury of this epic event. The Awakening, Brave New World, A Sport and a Pastime, Letting Go, White Noise. After the deed, Esther cupped my scrotum. She rested her head on my chest, and I rested my head on the hardwood, inches from a crummy plate. At some point, I said something like, you would have let me fuck you right there without a condom? She said, I'm on the pill, and I presume you're clean, and you can do whatever you want to me. Though my mind raced with creative possibilities, brought on by what seemed like a once-in-a-lifetime invitation, I did what I'd like to think many guys would do in that situation. I gave her a good 13 seconds of train track missionary. Then I fell asleep. Thinking of these lines from Hawthorne. So intimate in those first moments was the union that it seemed as if their new sympathy annihilated all other ties, and that they were released from the chain of humanity. A new sphere, a special law, had been created for them alone. The world could not come near them. They were safe. 1 month later, for spring break, we went to Austin for the South by Southwest Music Festival. Our first night there was the day I turned 22 and she turned 30. Happy birthday, she said, as I entered her on the bed in our Holiday Inn room, shortly after we'd exchanged gifts. Happy birthday, I replied. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," I said. It was the only time in my life where orgasmic moaning has commenced before the physical orgasms. To that point, I'd heard secondhand about the power of sex with a connection, but I'd never experienced it. Esther and I were a sobbing symphony. My tears landed on her nose and forehead. I was feeling things for the first time. What I didn't know then was that I was feeling them for the last time too. Part 3, Epilogue, 1997 to 2012. In April, we began to talk about what we'd do when the semester was over. I made it plain that I wanted the relationship to end, that I had serious goals, that I didn't feel as if it was the right time to settle down with anyone. Slowly, a distance crept between us, nights where neither of us could sleep, unruly quarrels about whether a Mariah Carey song is lame or sincere, petty jealousies over friends and exes. At one point, she took a trip by herself to New York City. She returned with this gift for me, a visual acknowledgement of my recent declarations that the work must come first. In May, I graduated and moved to New York. We talked regularly for a while, and we even had the inevitable 1 month after breakup sleepover. But at length, the separation took hold. On our birthday in 1998, 1 year after the trip to Austin, we connected on the phone. I forget who called who, but I remember how she explained to me, with some guilt, that she was now dating a guy named Andy Miller. "It's okay," I said. "I'm happy for you. I was sleeping with someone else too, but I didn't have the nerve to tell her." Later that year, she got a full-time white-collar job and moved to New York. By that time, I'd moved to Boston and was working at a business magazine. Every so often, when I came to New York to see my family, I'd call her and ask if she was free for lunch. Usually she wasn't. On one occasion, when she said she was free, I sat in the lobby of her office for an hour, waiting for her to emerge, but she never came downstairs. That night, she called me to apologize. She said she'd been swamped at the last second with late-breaking assignments. I believed her, but it was the last time I ever asked her to lunch. And so we drifted. Oh, my memory of our time together as a couple is fresh. It really does feel as if it happened yesterday. I'm hazy on the details of the 15 intervening years. I know this much. Somehow, somewhere along the line, I ended up with her cell phone number. I also know, thanks to the power of Facebook, that she still lives in the New York metro area and has a different full-time employer. Before reading this confessional to a live audience and knowing too that it would be taped for future YouTube viewings, I wanted to run it by Esther. I wanted to give her a chance not only to fact check it against her memory of events, but also to request that I use a pseudonym for her and all things associated with her. So on September 29th, I called her and reached her voicemail. 2 days later, she texted me back, and I emailed this essay to her all the way up to this sentence. She did not dispute any of the details that I've shared with you tonight. But She told me she didn't want me to read this, that it was an invasion of her privacy, and if I was going to do it anyway, that I better remove anything that could be used to identify her.